Oh, there's Jonathan. Jonathan, do you want to announce your tech support number for people?
Sure. The number to call if you need something during the service is 360-504-6478. 360-504-6478. And that will get you directly to my mobile, and I will do my best to answer.
Maybe you can enter it in the chat so people.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat too.
Jonathan, do you know if Jim is headed our way?
Yeah, he was going over to the office right after the service. I'm assuming he's just getting connected.
Yeah, good.
Jonathan, is the other guy from central office still there?
I
Wasn't
don't
there
know what you're talking about.
Wasn't there, Jim mentioned there was somebody else there learning technical issues?
Oh, Ryan. He was just learning the tech for the service.
Ah,
Yeah, this is Beth Bishop's son. I think we need an AV squad. You know, we're getting technical enough around here. We actually need somebody to run this stuff, I think.
wait, they need to learn it from Jonathan. Jonathan will not always be with us. He said he's got a tech support book, but the book is not good by itself.
Yeah, amen. We need an AV squad.
I seem to remember that from 7th grade.
In my case, it was 6th grade, but I get your point. It worked. We were good. I'm gonna give Jim just a quick call to let him know that we're waiting for him.
Maybe.
Also, during the meeting, everyone should know that I am planning on keeping people on mute. So if you need to make a comment, you'll need to unmute in order to do that. So otherwise, if you're not familiar with Zoom, sometimes you get funky echoes with people having their computer on somewhere else and it's feeding back through the system. So most of the time, Jordan will be the only one who is not muted.
All right, well, Jim says he's on, so let's get started. What do you say? So first of all, thanks for coming. If you don't know me, I'm Jordan Roderick. I served as your senior warden during 2020. I'm going to be hosting the meeting today, and I apologize in advance for the lack of champagne and the awkwardness of our remote setup. Personally, I long for the day when we can get back together, but we're going to have to work with Zoom for now. So we're going to start the meeting today with an opening prayer, and that I'm going to hand the ball off to Jim to get that done. So Jim, our opening prayer, please.
Oh, I know you told me I was going to do this. I got to look it up real quick. Oh, it must be a miracle. It opened up to the right page. Almighty and everlasting God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with us who take counsel in this annual meeting for the renewal and mission of the Church of the Holy Cross. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Back to you, Jordan.
Amen. Well, thanks, Jim. So we're going to have 3 presentations and take a couple of votes today. I'm going to give you my quick assessment of Holy Cross status. Then we're going to elect new vestry members and convention delegates. Father Jim gave us his annual report during his sermon, but he'll have some additional comments. And finally, Glenn Johnson, our treasurer, will take us through a summary of 2020 financial results and our 2021 budget. And at the end, you'll have a chance to ask questions of whoever. So, as for 2020, it was about as unlucky a year as it could possibly be. What with the pandemic, quarantine, recession, civil unrest, and political unrest, it's not a year that I'd care to repeat. Our church building was closed in March to worshipers, our preschool kids, our scout troops, and everybody else. I don't have to belabor this. You lived through it. You know what's going on. But in spite of all this, I'm here to tell you that you should be proud of yourselves and proud of Holy Cross. Our worship services have migrated online, and our coffee hour, and our choir practice, and our other social groups. We are still a community. Although our physical preschool was closed, Carrie Lodge and her team managed to serve dozens of kids online. Despite the need to socially distance his volunteers, Jim has managed to produce food for the hungry measured in tens of tons. For the most part, perhaps even more than one might expect given that our community was so disrupted, you, our parishioners, have made good on your pledges. Thank you. That and a $107,000 PPP loan, which has now been forgiven by the government, kept church finances above break even. So, while 2020 was a tough year for everybody and for Holy Cross as a community, you should hold your head high. Despite it all, we are still a source of good for each other and the broader community. Personally, I want to thank you for your support. 2020 wasn't the easiest year to be senior warden, but you, my fellow Holy Crucians, were always there when I needed you. Thanks. So now we have our annual meeting business to conduct. We're going to elect new vestry members, and we're going to elect new convention delegates. I want to acknowledge and thank Carrie Kirby, Michael Bianisek, and Jill Nellis, who've completed their 3-year terms on the vestry. Each of them made major contributions, and their energy and wisdom will be missed. I'm going to miss you guys. Also, Julie Renee had to resign from the vestry due to the way COVID rejuggled her works and school schedule. So we'll be filling 4 vestry positions today. I'm pleased to report that we have superb volunteers for all of them. For the 3-year terms, we have Emily Kirby, Sarah Carroll, and Ellen O'Hara. To fill the remainder of Julienne's term, we have Glenn Eads. At this time, I would take a motion to nominate these 4 people for the positions on the vestry.
I would like
I
to
nominate them.
I would like to nominate Emily Kirby, Glenn Eads, Ellen O'Hara, and Sarah Carroll for the vestry.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I hear a second?
I second the nomination.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to take a vote. We're going to do this kind of low tech. The way we're going to vote is with thumbs to the screen. So if you are in favor of electing these 4 people to the vestry, I want to see a thumbs up on the screen. Thank you. If there are any, oh, I like some of you figured out the icon for the thumbs up too. That's good. Yes, Carm, what have you got? You'll have to unmute, Carm. No? Okay. So any opposed to those vestry members? Thumbs down. Well, I don't see any, so that's a good sign. The ayes have it, and all 4 are elected to the vestry. Congratulations. Okay, Now on to our second business item, the election of convention delegates. We have two volunteers, Joyce Roderick and Margie Reagan, and we're going to elect them today. However, we need two more delegates. The vestry will be recruiting for these positions, so if you'd like to serve, by all means say so. Now's your chance to get in on the action. Okay, at this time, I would take a motion to nominate Joyce and Margie as convention delegates.
Okay, so I nominate Joyce Roderick and Margie Reagan to be convention delegates.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second the nomination.
Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote again. All those in favor, let's see a thumb. Oh, I like the icon. Yes, you guys are getting better at this Zoom stuff. Any opposed? Let's have an opposite thumb. Okay, I don't see any. So the ayes have it. Joyce and Margie are elected as convention delegates. And if anybody else is interested in it, contact a vestry member, Jim or whomever, and we'll get you on board for it. Okay, that's it for the business of the meeting. So it's on to Jim for his comments. Jim, take it away.
Well, I just briefly want to say that in the vestry, the vestry's done a tremendous job. Jordan is a, everybody's quaking in their boots to follow him as the senior warden. But Jordan, you've done a magnificent job of taking us through this crisis this year and kept us very sane. And man, can that guy get us through a meeting in no time and cover a lot of ground. So thank you. And thank you to everybody who's been on the vestry. To serve on the vestry is to voluntarily take on more than your fair share of anxiety for the things going on in the parish. So you look, most of us aren't looking at the budget every month, but the vestry looks at the budget every month and so forth. And so they wrestle mightily with a number of things. And it's really a sterling group of people. It's an embarrassment of goodwill and talent at Holy Cross. Thank you very much. So the new vestry has two officers in it, a senior and a junior warden. It's kind of like, what do you call that? Parliament, where you have the House of Lords and the House of Commons or something like that. So you have the senior warden is chosen by the rector. And so our new senior warden is going to be Fran Kennedy Ellis. She's maybe on screen 1 or screen 2, but Fran, why don't you unmute and say something and wave your hands around or something so people can see you.
I'm here with my big Texas mug of coffee. And when I moved from Texas to Holy Cross, the first Sunday I entered was during the remodel when we were putting in the wiring to help those with hearing challenges. And I knew on my first Sunday that Holy Cross was home. It was the church that I'd been praying for during my 8 years in Austin. And God not only brought me back to the Episcopal church, but he just brought me to a place of family and blessing. I've had the opportunity to serve in different roles in this parish, and the vestry and the prayer ministry are the two I enjoy the most, apart from running around at the farm. So I'm honored to serve, and Jim's right, following Jordan's lead is really scary for me as a businesswoman because he's a consummate leader and a consummate businessman. But I will do my best. I will listen. I will lean, I will learn, and I will lead. And in all things, we will seek God and the urgings of the Spirit first. And we will carry forward your wishes for this parish and those of God. That is all.
Thank you. See what an inspiring speaker she is already.
I did not prepare that. You did not tell me.
I knew that was right off. Yeah. Okay. And then the junior warden is someone who is like the House of Commons is chosen by the rest of the vestry. So that person will be become known after the February vestry meeting. But here we go off to a new year. And I just want to thank all of you for supporting this ministry of this church this year. I think probably the one thing that creates the worst peptic acid for me is false stewardship. And I was like, how are we going to do this when we're just like on Zoom screens and really can't, chat with each other too much actively. And this church has just been so generous and just realized what it's going to take to keep us going, so mature that way. And it's really been a profound blessing to see you all just hold the fort like this. It's been wonderful. So thank you. Jordan, back to you.
All right, good. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, and I second all those comments. Thank you, guys. It's been a much better year than I think we had a right to expect, frankly. Okay, so now we move on to Glenn Johnson, our treasurer, for his report on the 2020 financial results and the 2021 budget. You're going to see on the screen some spreadsheets that Glenn has produced, but you'll hear Glenn describe them. So go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, the first one is the receipts and disbursements for the year 2020. The most important thing, I guess, in terms of viewing this is it's a little bit difficult to see, but I hope you can see it. We have total receipts of $609,719.19 and total disbursements of the $543,304.28, which gives us net receipts or net operating cash inflow of $66,414.91. So that's good, really good. In terms of analyzing that net receipts, let's go back up to the receipts over here, and you can see then that if you take the total receipts of the 609 and the budget of 670, we see then we're under budget by 60,840.81. And since that has to do with receipts, that's negative. So in terms of our receipts, we're under by 60,000. But all in all, you know, given the situation with the pandemic, everything, we're under in terms of our pledges only 8,800. So, you know, I think the church has really done well for that. Okay, then going down to the disbursements, then we see we have 543 actual total disbursements, and then 670 budgeted disbursements. So we're under there also. We're under by 127,000. But because this is disbursements, that under then is positive. So with the under positive 127 and the negative under of 60, we then have a positive over down below of that 66,414.91. So the point is that the reason we have net receipts of 66 is because our spending was held down so well. So in terms of 127, that boosted then us to offset our negative in our receipts, so that we come out with them with a positive 66,414.91. So that's kind of like explaining why that arose. Now, the other aspect of it, just inform you to get the idea of it. If you look at we had payroll protection program, which we got from the government to keep our employees employed, and so they granted us a PPP of $60,840.81. So if you take that 66,000 that we're over in terms of positive and compare it to the 67,000 PPP, we see in terms of our PP is a difference of a 652.09. So a large part of the reason why we came up with a positive net receipts of the 66 is is because of the 67,000 PPP money, which was given to us to keep our employees employed. So I just wanted to mention that so you get an idea of what went on. Okay, so I think that unless there's anything I could explain some of these transfers in, but I don't think and curate reimbursement and that type, but I don't think you need to really do that. So let's move on to the second one, second statement. The restricted funds. Okay, so we have the restricted fund statement for the whole year. So this restricted fund statement are funds restricted to a particular need. So some of the highlights then of our restricted funds, and so we've got our beginning balance, then the ending year balance. So this then provides you with all the additions and withdrawals and everything that went on during the whole year. So it's a pretty good statement in that respect. So the contingency fund of 41,751.68, that's really good because that amount of money is what we use for emergencies. You know, like the usual situation is where we, you know, our pledges are down in the summer and the fall, and so we use that for emergency. But you could see that we didn't have to use that. Just minor additions and minor withdrawals, and so it stood at 41, which is good. Okay, then moving down then to the secular outreach fund, it has a balance of 79,514.41, which is good to say the least. It's really good, and that is we've had 122,000 brought in, and this is company donations and working on the farm and so forth, and then some church pledges that were matching matching gifts, and that goes to the outreach fund. And so, and then the 73 are farm expenses, and so that's we come up with this good amount of 79,000. Okay, then moving down to our building one and two. What I've done is in terms of building one and two, because we can earn more interest in moving the building fund into away from our bank. So we form building fund number 2, so we get more interest. And so we now have building 1 and building fund 2. And if you total that up, that's 221,000. Adding together is 221,000 also. And then so I think that's really the most important things in terms of the discussion with regard to these amounts. Okay, then moving down to the addendum, then we have 418,000 of our restricted funds, but then we have 626,513 of our total investments. So if you take our 626 total investments less the 418,000 total funds, we have excess coverage in $208,000. This means that we have investments that would cover all our restricted fund amounts. So, you know, these amounts then are not paper credits like some accounting. You can set up these as paper credits and with no funds behind it, but we've set this up so that we have funds, investments behind them. So we've got excess coverage of this 418,000 because of that 620, and so we have excess coverage of 208,120, which is good. Okay, then going down to then the building fund. When we first started our building fund, the previous building fund balance had as of 1/1/16 had a balance of 62,605.07. Now contributions 5 years later, we've raised 492. We have interest then of the 8,007 to come up with a total receipts over the time of this last building fund, which lasted 3 years. And then we had spending over the 60 months of 342. And so our ending balance in our building fund is 221, which is exactly those two amounts that I showed you above when I said combined building fund 1 and building 1, 2. So that's proof that that balance is okay. Okay, let's then move on to the budget. Okay, this is the budget then for 2021. Okay, so the first thing to note about it is that we have total receipts of the 603,540, and then I can't get it all on, so I'll move away from that and just start talking about up here. For our current year, now this amount of current pledges of 482. This is the pledged amount for 2021. It's not actual paid in, it's a budget. So this is the pledges. And here are the pledges that were in 2020. Again, not cash paid in, but the actual pledges. And so we had an increase of 21,000, which is a 4.36% decrease from 504.40 in terms of our budgeted receipts. And then in terms of comparing the budget 21 with the actual 20, we had a 13,000 decline, which is 2.65% decrease. Okay, then going down in terms of our total receipts, then our budget for 221 and budget for 220 is 607. So there's a difference of 67, which is a 10% decrease in terms of our budgeted amount. And then from 603 to 607, there is what gave you the 6,179. There's only a 1%, 0.01% decrease. Okay, then moving down then to the disbursements. So, our receipts of 603 less our total disbursements of 608 gives us a budgeted net disbursements, or a negative 4.546. So we're budgeting not a balanced budget like we did last year, where it came out, we're budgeting a negative amount, and but it's still not too bad. But there is one thing that's probably, well, maybe first of all, I'll talk about a little bit about this. If you look in terms of our total decrease in this budget disbursements, 9.32%. Total decrease from actual, it's 11.92% decrease. And in terms of our net disbursements, it's between actuals and 107% decrease and 9.32% decrease. Now, in terms of looking at the, I did want to make a comment on this. Not only were we budgeting a net disbursements of 4,005, up above, you don't have to go above, but up above, we've got budgeted amount of 5 months to be raised $24,000. So the vestry decided that that the deficit would be quite large, and so this funds to be raised in the last 6 months was added by the vestry, and the vestry then is going to hope to raise $24,000 in the last 6 months of the year. so that we could reduce the deficit down to 4,546. So if that was not put in there by the vestry, then the 24 plus the 24 plus the 4 would have given a 28,000 deficit. So I just wanted to point out that was the vestry decision to do that, which I think is a good one. Okay. I don't think I could mention that there was a 0.9% cost of living increase for the church employees, the COLA, that was approved by the diocese, and so that was in the salary, and the increase in the salaries for that 0.9 then resulted in an increase in pensions and payroll taxes because of the increase in the COLA. So I think that's about it, unless there are some particular questions that want to be asked. How come I can't hear you?
Because I forgot to unmute. Sorry about that. Thank you for that, Glenn. We're going to get to questions in just a second. I just want to add on that the PPP program has been extended by Congress, and we have filed for a second PPP loan for 2021. And with any luck, if that is approved, that'll fill that gap in fundraising that you mentioned in the last half of the year. So we have one question that came in chat for you, Glenn. The question from Lynn was, what are we doing about assessment? How much do we pay the diocese, and where do we stand on that?
Okay. We're meeting the assessment, and it's I don't have that broken down here. I could get my statement, but we're meeting the assessment, and then and we met it in the budget, so we're doing okay on that. There is one thing I guess I could add, that we were supposed to, Father Jim wanted us to pay an assessment on the PPP money, which I thought, since we weren't billed for it, we really didn't have to do it. But so we're okay in terms of our assessment. And in addition to that, we paid an assessment on the PPP money of 67,000. So we're doing quite well then in terms of our assessment figures.
Yeah, I think just parenthetically, I think that we're doing fine. I mean, the diocese has a lot of churches that aren't doing as well. I think we're okay. There was another question that came in through chat about why clergy expense has decreased. And I see Glenn has his back turned now. So I'll just mention that Jonathan's curacy was a 2-year program. And I am sad to report that that 2 years will be up in June of this year, as currently planned anyway. And so the budget only has a half year curate in it. So that's a big difference in terms of clergy. And then there was
Okay,
sorry, go ahead, Glenn.
What was the question then?
It was a question of why clergy expenses have decreased, and I mentioned that Jonathan's in the budget only for half a year because of his the end of his term.
Right. And then okay.
Go ahead.
In terms of that assessment question, we budgeted assessment of 84,000, and we spent 77,000, so we're under in terms of our assessment of $6,872. So our assessment is fine. doing everything okay with that.
Yeah.
We're meeting the assessment and just doing fine.
Yeah. And then there was another comment that came in on chat regarding Best Beginnings. I don't have Best Beginnings financials in front of me, and Glenn, I don't know if you do either.
Well,
But
do they want the best beginnings with regard to our budget, our amounts?
well, I think the question directly was the PPP and how are they doing? We got a $107,000 PPP loan. That was split between the church and Best Beginnings. As Glenn mentioned, the church got about 67,000 of that, and Best Beginnings got the remainder. But Best Beginnings revenue is off way, way more than the churches, because, you know, while we, as Glenn showed you, while the church pretty much came in surprisingly on track, it seems to me, from a revenue standpoint, Best Beginnings, when they closed their schools, their revenue went away completely. So they ate into their rainy day fund. Best Beginnings, it has been historically cash flow positive. They have a substantial rainy day fund in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so they made up their losses last year, and they will have continuing losses in 2021. But that won't affect the church's finances. They have the money to cover that in their rainy day fund.
Well, except that we have reduced the amount that they normally have been paying 15,000, but for 2020 they paid in 7,500, which is understandable, and there's no problem there. And so we budgeted then for 220 that we budgeted instead of 15,000, we budgeted then for 221 7,500 because of that, right? Because they really are having money problems. So
exactly so. And I would say that that given the good they do, the vestry unanimously approved their budget going forward. They're worth the investment. Okay, yes, go ahead, Jim.
I was just saying, you know, the $15,000 basically covers their utilities. And there's just 2 teachers in the building. They're hardly turning the heat on. So they're not costing $15,000 in utilities either.
So another question came in, commitment on to our current staff members. I think you can all feel proud about this. We have kept all of our current staff. We have not reduced anybody's hours. So all the people that make Holy Cross go are whole through this. The Best Beginnings teachers are another story. Needless to say that there don't need classroom teachers at this point. So a bunch of those valuable people are not employed right now. There is only a handful of folks that are actually working in Best Beginnings. Another question that came in from Lydia, will we seek another curate? I'll give you 2 cents from that. First, I think Jonathan has been a godsend. I think he's been terrific. He's helped in so many ways around the church. And you know, frankly, I think it's been great to hear his voice in sermons get, you know, not that I don't appreciate Jim's perspective, which I most certainly do, but it's great to have multiple perspectives on this. And he's been fabulous. And I think we're going to miss him severely when he leaves us. So the vestry has established a personnel committee. Among the things it is considering are what to do about curacy. There is a person that is a potential for this next period, and there will be other periods going on in the future. But I think that from my standpoint anyway, our experiment with having a curate has been a huge success. And I think most people that I've talked to feel the same. And so we're examining how that could fit into our future. Don't have an answer just yet, but we're looking at that. So other questions? No other questions? All
Jordan,
right.
can I just add that the Personnel Committee was very enthusiastic in their recommendations about another curate, and that will be a priority for the vestry as a whole to consider.
And Fran, your parakeet made it onto the call. He's right behind you on the chair. It's great. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance and thank you for your support through 2020.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Jordan, are we going to ask for 2 more delegates from the floor?
Okay, does anyone want to serve as a delegate that we could elect right now? I'm not seeing any volunteers. We're gonna have to do some arm twisting. All right.
Okay. All right.
Let's call this adjourned for now. Again, thank you all for coming and thanks for your support. See you later.